Italy moves to ban lab-grown meat to protect food heritage. The farmers' lobby praised the move. Shocking. The proposed bill came hard on the heels of a series of government decrees banning the use of flour derived from insects such as crickets and locusts in pizza or pasta. Pizza or pasta because that's Italian, right? Uh-oh. Everything I, an Italian, thought I knew about Italian food is wrong. From about 1958 to 1963, during the economic boom that followed years of wartime poverty, Italy saw the same kind of progress that the UK had witnessed over the course of a century during the Industrial Revolution. In a very short time, Italians who'd had their bread rationed were living in abundance. The nation needed an identity to help forget its past struggles, while those who had immigrated to America needed myths that would dignify their humble origins. And then, as an example, the author gives panettone? Christmas bready fruit thing. I've never had it before. But apparently, originally, it was just a flatbread with a few raisins in it. It was something that people who didn't have money would eat. It was only eaten by the poor and had no links to Christmas. Then, in the 1920s, we have the Moda food brand. They were the one who introduced the new dough recipe and started this tradition of the shape of the panettone. And then independent bakeries started copying that. After a bizarre backwards journey, panettone finally came to be what it had never previously been, an artisanal product. Tiramisu is another example, the coffee-infused biscuits that divide up the layers. This was a supermarket snack launched in 1948. In a normal country, nobody would care where and when a cake was invented. He's Italian, so he can say that, but I can quote it, right? Oh, Parmesan. This one is very interesting. So I guess Parmesan used to be, it had a fatter and softer texture, and it was encased in a thick black crust. What the fuck? Why do we eat cheese? I don't. Why do y'all eat cheese? Disgusting. Why did I ever eat it? Some even say that this cheese, as a sign of quality, had to squeeze out a drop of milk when pressed. Point is, its modern day match is not in Italy, it's in Wisconsin. Because Italians who were making Parmesan cheese that way, who immigrated to Wisconsin, continued to make it that way. And then the Parmesan in Italy morphed into the Parmesan that we see today, this hard cheese. Pizza. Speaking of pizza, right? You can't have any crickets in your pizza or your pasta. In 1943, when Italian-American soldiers were sent to Sicily and traveled up the Italian peninsula, they wrote home in disbelief. There were no pizzerias. Before the war, pizza was only found in a few southern Italian cities where it was made and eaten in the streets by the lower classes. His research suggests that the first fully fledged restaurant exclusively serving pizza opened not in Italy, but in New York in 1911. The author speaks to his 88-year-old grandmother, who says, I remember the first pizzeria I saw. I must have been 19 or 20, half an hour from home. The first time I saw a mozzarella was even later. It was when they opened a supermarket here. Both she and another elderly person remember eating lots of beans and potatoes, not ingredients typically associated with Italian cooking, before the war. Ah, carbonara. We only had pasta on Sundays. His childhood meals were mainly beans and vegetables from the family's kitchen garden. I'd never heard of carbonara before the war. Apparently an Italian chef first made it in 1944 for the US Army. The Americans had fabulous bacon, very good cream, some cheese, and powdered egg yolks. So apparently carbonara is very particular in terms of the ingredients it's supposed to contain. It has to be pork jowl, but early recipes are surprisingly varied. As this author notes, people were just trying to survive. They were going to make whatever foods they could make out of the ingredients they had. They didn't have the luxury of saying, oh no, that doesn't go in carbonara. That's not true carbonara. When a community finds itself deprived of its sense of identity because of whatever historical shock or fracture with its past, it invents traditions to act as founding myths. There's a lot more here. I highly recommend reading through this because it's just very funny. But as the author notes, there is a dark side to this. When a archbishop tried to be more welcoming to Muslims by adding pork-free tortellini to the menu, far-right League Party leader Matteo Salvini wasn't on board. They're trying to erase our history, our culture. And then, of course, it turns out that the oldest recipes for tortellini, the filling is made with poultry. My point with all of this is, number one, it's funny that these people are so obsessed with their supposed traditions that didn't actually exist or that morphed somewhere along the way. And so now these are the things that are traditions and cannot be changed, even though they had already previously changed. And number two, the not funny part, which is that because of this belief in culture and in a non-changing society, you end up excluding people and you end up harming sentient beings. All because you don't want lab-grown bacon or, pork jowl in your carbonara. And never forget that the loudest people involved in this are those with industry ties, right? There's a reason farmers are so excited about banning lab-grown meats. But it's tough. It's tough for people to accept that there are parts of their culture that are bad, actually, or at the very least untrue. It's really hard for people to accept that. We like the feeling of having pride in where we're from, even though we really have nothing to do with it. You have nothing to do with where you were born. You just got lucky or unlucky. It might be easier for people like me who always grew up at least somewhat outside of my culture, right? I did not grow up with religion, so I always had a sense of this is a huge part of my culture that is wrong. This is something that people very, very strongly believe, and they're wrong. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about this. I saw it on Slate Star Codex, and I just thought this whole thing was really funny. I had no idea. I learned so much about Italian food. I had no idea how much of it originated just in the last 80 years or so. It's pretty fascinating. And it's also just kind of sad. I mean, I don't know, like, wouldn't you want to be proud of the things in your culture that actually matter? But how you put ingredients together, that's the thing. That's the thing you're gonna focus on and hang your hat on and exclude people over. The way you combine ingredient. I mean, look across the world, like many of us eat virtually the same things, right? We eat like carbs and protein and fat. We just kind of put them in different ways. Like every culture has a sandwich, right? It's just like slightly different. It's such a weird thing to separate yourself from or feel unique over, right? And like create a sort of tribe over how you combine ingredients. Fucking weird. Like vegans, ours is an ethical position. It makes a lot more sense than just eat your carbs this way specifically. Just to be clear, this sort of sentiment is not exclusive to Italy, of course. There are many people in this country, in the US, who share these same feelings toward American cuisine. They don't like the unnaturalness of clean meat, etc. And there are Italians who do not share this sentiment. There are, for instance, animal welfare groups who are very saddened by this because they see the potential for clean meat to curb a lot of animal cruelty. There are also plenty of Italians who laugh at this, right? They laugh at the food tradition stuff and make food however they wish to make it. Again, this was written by an Italian, and the author he quotes throughout, Alberto Grandi, I'm sure I'm saying that right, is Italian as well. And then there's this from Italian chef Massimo Bottura.
This is panettone in a traditional way. This is a panettone you can make from the leftover. Can you imagine? But this is 100 times better than this. You know, in cooking, you always have to keep the door open for the unexpected. I want to tell you a story. At the moment I had to create pesto for 120 people. We are out of peanuts. What are we gonna do? Breadcrumbs. We put breadcrumbs instead of peanuts. Exactly how to evolve tradition. Tradition in evolution.
Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I would love to know your thoughts on all of this and on the lab-grown meat ban. I do have a detailed video on lab-grown meat, whether or not it's vegan, so check that out. And subscribe, of course, like the video, hit the bell if you want to be notified when I upload. Thank you so much to my patrons at patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. I do post 2 exclusive videos there a month for $5 plus patrons, including a controversial topic. And I have shirts and totes and a mug. I almost did my silly voice. I still kind of did it. And I have an Amazon store page, and it is getting late. I gotta go help get the kids to bed. I don't know why I needed to tell you guys that, but I guess I did. Thank you again, guys. New video soon. I hate my hair right now. I hate it. I'm gonna hate editing this. It's got too much stuff in it and it feels icky. It's just like hair stuff I have that I need to use up, and I put too much. And it just, why'd I do it?